Well, howdy, folks. Daryl Keith Norman again here, and this is our 13th episode here of this going through the song demos. And I can't tell everybody how much I appreciate you tuning in and sharing and subscribing and making your comments and all that kind of stuff. This song this week is called "Wishin' I Was You." And it's kind of an old song, but a new demo. And I co-wrote it with my good friend and mentor, Wayne Carson. And so we're going to take a listen to the song here and come back on the other side and chat about it a little bit. So I'll see you in a couple minutes.
In her eyes, shining like the sun, melts the ice inside this glass before the drink is done. Just a glance says love is true. Here's wishing I was you. Heart on fire's a friendly flame unless you burn alone. Watching her there, watching you breaks this heart of stone. Never thought my world could turn so blue. Here's wishing I was you. Think I had it all, but all the time I had my back against the wall. But tonight I realize that maybe I can learn to dream, step out and take the chance. Solid ground don't mean a thing, staring at romance. I'll learn to trust my wings, but till I do, here's wishing I was you. Here's wishing I was you.
Well, I hope you liked that one. That one's called "Wishin' I Was You." And I think I've told you before, but I'll reiterate it just in case some people have missed it on some of the earlier episodes. But I had a job where the manager was like, he was a big fan of my music, and he didn't really know anything about the music business, but he said I needed to write songs like it was a job. So he gave me a job where I just had to sit there all night long from 11 to 7 in the morning, and he wanted me to write 5 songs a night. And then he'd come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, he'd critique them and let me know what he thought of each of them. And I mean, it was a tall order, you know. I mean, you sit and think, well, a song's only 3.5 minutes long, it shouldn't take you too long to write one. But you got to have ideas, and I was starting to pull ideas out of the woodwork. And it was during this period that I met Wayne, And Wayne knew the Nashville system inside and out because he'd been back here. We were out in California at the time. And he knew better, but he wasn't one to be outdone. And so he would go home all night and write 5 songs every night. Then I'd go over to his couch and I'd sleep on his couch until he woke up about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'd eat something. Then we'd go in. He had a little 8-track studio in his spare bedroom, and we'd go in and we'd record all 10 songs of the 5 that I'd written and the 5 that he'd written. And sometimes he'd want to rewrite one of my songs, and I'd let him do it if he thought it was good enough to work on. And we mostly did our co-writes like that, where I had an existing song and he would do what I called the Wayne Carson Massacre on it. But anyway, that's kind of what we did. We did that for 5, 6 years out there in Ventura, California. And we came up with some great songs during that period because it's just like working out. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And not all of them are going to be good. Some of them are going to suck. But anyway, that's kind of the scenario that we were in when this song came about. And we wrote it in 89, I think, is when this song was actually written. But I just demoed it last year. And I always felt that nobody could get it right until I got the band that I'm using now and the studio that I'm using now. And I was like, these guys could do this song right. And so anyway, the story behind how the song happened was we had been working all night. It had to be a weekend because we were working all night at Wayne's house. And we decided before we go to bed, about 7 o'clock in the morning, that we would go down to one of the local hotels and we'd eat breakfast. They had a good breakfast at this hotel down there in Oxnard. So we went down and the sun was coming up and it's right there on the ocean and the boats are outside and everything, and we're exhausted. We're super tired and we're waiting for our food to come. And at this table to the side of us was this guy and this girl, and they were far enough away we couldn't hear what they were saying, but if you watched close enough you could tell he was asking her to marry him. And I tapped Wayne on the hand. We were sitting across from each other at the table. I tapped him on the hand and I pointed, and we're sitting there and we're just kind of watching these two, and he's asking her to marry him, and she's crying and just ecstatically happy and everything. And Wayne pulled over the napkin and pulled out a pen and he wrote, "Romance is in her eyes, shining like the sun." And then he handed it over to me and I went, "Melts the ice inside this glass before the drink is done." Then I handed it back to him and he writes, "Just a glance says love is true." And then he handed it back to me and I said, here's wishing I was you." And when I wrote that last line of the first verse, Wayne looked at me and raised his eyebrows and he went, like that. And we didn't even talk. We didn't argue about lines. We didn't sit there and try and rewrite it or anything. We just let it flow. And he'd write a line, then I'd write a line, then he'd write a line, and I'd write a line. And it was probably it was definitely the first song that we ever really truly co-wrote. And Wayne never would have come up with that song without me, but I never would have come up with it without him. This is definitely a Carson-Norman collaboration, and I'm super proud of it because of that. I hope I don't let the wonderfulness of the experiment get in the way of being objective about the song, but I just love the song, and a lot of it is because it was just such a wonderful, Wayne and I knew each other so well by that point, and it just came so natural, and it was so organic the way it came out. So we finished the song and our food came, and we're like rushing down our food, and we pay the bill, and he goes, we need to get home and record this. And we got back into his studio, and we sat down. I was on the piano, he was on the guitar, and um, we didn't really rewrite the tune either. It just flowed. It's the way it's supposed to be, and sometimes it works like that. I think it only works with somebody who you're really good friends with, who you really know each other inside and out. And basically, all I cared about was blowing Wayne away. I just wanted to knock him out, and he felt the same way about me. We didn't have anybody else out there in California who was doing what we were doing, so it was like we only had each other, and we would constantly push each other higher. I firmly believe that that's just the best way to co-write, is where you push each other to be better. And then when it just can't be any better, then you sit there and go, well, that's probably it right there. So anyway, that's the story of Wishing I Was You. It's one of my favorites that I've ever written, and I hope you like it. And once again, thanks for viewing this, and comments, and keeping in touch. And if anybody needs me at all, my contact information is going to be at the end of this. abnormanmusic@gmail.com. Do co-writes. I produce albums. I do whatever it is somebody might need. And if I can't do it, I know somebody who can. So anyway, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.